Hey guys, Kalltorak here. Today, I am bringing you my Speedy Boy Thorns Titan. I know I say this in every video, but this is my favorite Thorns build yet. Partly why I say this every time is because I take a lot of what I learned from the previous build and apply it to the new one. It just usually ends up with some pretty massive upgrades or interactions I didn't try before. Thorns' biggest downside has always been its clear speed. To solve this, we are using an old Boneshatter technique. Boneshatter is one of the few skills in the game that have no animation lag. The entire skill's animation and its movement speed are sped up by skill and attack speed, unlike other skills where certain portions of the animation have forced lag. So, by stacking a lot of skill and attack speed, you are able to just hold down left click and Boneshatter across the map. And then when you have swiftness shrines, yeah, it's pretty fun. This comes online very quickly with the right leveling setup. From Act 2, I was able to travel around the campaign with Boneshatter. This makes it not the cheapest leveling setup. If you want to level this way, you're going to have to invest into twink leveling gear. I have a leveling section in the Mobalytics that goes over all the gear and passive choices you need to get this going. I cleared the campaign insanely fast with this setup. If you'd rather level a cheap option though, I will be linking my Warbringer leveling guide below. Titan Rot carried my defenses for almost all the campaign, and slotting Teethings into all of my gear carried my defenses. I didn't have to worry about armor breaking at all during the campaign, I just zoomed. You will also want to get yourself a high attack speed weapon. Trench Timbre I used for the entire campaign. It's cheap to get at a high attack speed and you can use it at level 16. You can Ascendancy swap in this game by redoing the hardest version of Ultimatum and Secamus you have cleared. So if you're playing my Warbringer build and you want to try this Titan build, no worries. You don't have to re-level, just redo the trial, and you can Ascendancy swap once you're inside. Just remove your points from Babala, and then click the shrine in the middle of the room. Then you should be able to swap. By the way, did you know we started a Thorns guild in Discord? Link down below. Armor break is one of the most annoying things for non-Warbringer Thorns. We have solved this through two ways. The first and biggest way is through Voltaic Mark and Marked for Death. This makes your physical damage break armor on the marked target. Since we have a boatload of physical Thorns damage, this gives every single character an easy way to armor break on bosses and rares. This makes getting to 10 stacks of Scavenge Plating very easy. Then when you use the Quill Burst Armor Breaker 3 technique inside of Boneshatter, your Quill Burst now has the ability to break armor. Once you are at max stacks of Scavenge Plating, your Quill Burst will have enough to break armor to maintain stacks of Scavenge Plating mindlessly in maps. And once you get to endgame, this build is so much fun. I'm running around maps with 70,000 armor and 30,000 Thorns damage with the fastest move speed I've had yet for Thorns. I think if there is a way to min-max Wind Dancer for slightly better AoE clear, this would be peak. But right now, I'm limited on currency. The power creep from this patch was actually kind of insane. Stacking support gems from multiple Thorn skins was a massive boost to our damage, and the change to armor stacking has actually made me kind of unkillable. The biggest change, shockingly for Thorns though, is crafting. There are some insane ways to boost our defenses and offenses from crafting for Thorns. Thorns is just in a really different spot from last patch. It is still semi-hard to get online, meaning you need to collect all the pieces before you can play Thorns. Usually that happens at either level 16 or 30 depending on how much trading you do. After that though, Thorns has leveled up maybe 10 times its original power. You could easily spend 1,000 divines on Thorns builds to min-max it as far as possible now. There are just so many cool new options from jewels and crafting mods that change a lot of how you itemize Thorns. These gloves are insane for me right now. They are providing me over 5,000 armor with all the conversions I have, plus an additional 6 to 600 lightning Thorns damage base, and then some res. This single rare item might be more powerful than anything I had gotten last patch for Thorns. Silly Lily has a crafting video on how to make the best Thorn Spear. I'll link it down below, and hopefully we can get Silly Lily to make more Thorns crafting videos soon. So yeah, Thorns is eating really good this patch. I assume this Boneshatter technique will eventually get nerfed. I'm guessing a GCD or forced animation lag is coming. Until then though, we should enjoy some Speedy Boy Thorns. Alright, let's dive in. Okay, so let's dive into the overview. Again, Thorns' problem has always been that you're armor stacking, you're using a big shield, and that makes you really slow. This is my normal base move speed with Thorns, especially when you have to use Briar Patch. You can get Briar Patch up to like 30% base move speed, but you're just in general really slow as an armor-based character. Even with Sprint, you're still pretty slow, but with Boneshatter, we're able to solve that. It is, even in the hideout, I'm going pretty fast, and we can get our attack speed a lot faster. I have a passive that increases my attack speed when I'm hitting combat. So in combat baseline, I'm just faster. We have the acceleration shrines, and again, I'm not taking everything that increases my move speed here. Like right now, I am not playing Dance with Death anymore since I'm using the shield for survivability. There's plenty more attack speed options on the tree nearby that I could get. There's attack speed over here. And also, most importantly, there's some quality right here, 5% of quality to all skills. Boneshatter is the core of this build, and as you can see here, it is only level 2. You can keep this as low level as possible. The only thing that matters on it is its quality, and it has max sockets. Quality increases its attack speed, more attack speed. I have it at 23%. If I had the Cunning passive, I would be at 28%. So it's just a huge, massive attack speed increase by having more quality on it. And that's really the only thing you need. You just need to get a 5 socket with as much attack speed as possible, and then the Thorns does all of the heavy lifting. Barbs, Quill Burst are the main damage source. That's how it's always been with Thorns builds. If you're new to Thorns builds, your weapon and your damage of the skill has never really mattered too much. All of your damage comes from Barbs and Quill Burst, so this is just really the tool to help us do damage. Inside of it, I have Armor Break 3. There's an interaction between Quill Burst that Quill Burst gets some benefits from certain support gems. I assume it's a bug. I don't know if this will eventually get fixed, but Quill Burst benefits from Armor Break 3. Barbs 2 does not. Barbs 3 does not. No Barbs does. But Quill Burst benefits from this, so your physical damage from Quill Burst can break armor. And it farms you endurance charges for charge regulation, as well as it just farms you armor break for scavenge plating. So that interaction is just super important if you want easy armor break when mapping. And then inside of it, we also have Rapid Attacks 3 and Rigwald's Ferocity. Rigwald's Ferocity, when you're using your weapon set 1, you get 20% more attack speed. So this is how we're zooming around just pretty easily. And again, it can go way faster. As you can see with the acceleration shrines, I am zooming through the map. It is a lot of fun. The reason why this was like, we didn't do this before is because armor stacking was just bad. If you were to commit to doing this much attack speed, you would have just been a pure glass cannon build last patch. But because armor stacking is so good, crafting is in such amazing place, we're able to do this with a shield, staying relatively tanky. Like in the hideout right now, I am basically max res. I'm at 74% is my cap because I am using the brass dome. I'll talk about this later, but it does reduce my maximum all amounts of res by 1%. This is fine. 73% chaos res, 41% block. I have 39,000 armor in the hideout. In combat, when I get hit, I get more armor, and then I also get more armor from scavenge plating. I'm pushing almost 70,000 armor in combat right now, and this can go way higher. And then my Thorns damage in hideout is 5,000 to 18,000. This can also get way higher. In combat, I'm sitting about 30,000 Thorns damage. It's great, 300% crit damage bonus and 100% critical hit chance. So in terms of like where this character's at, he is pretty juiced, and he can get min-max way further. Like the crafting in this patch is insane. You can really min-max for Thorns. They added a bunch of stuff that boosts Thorns that just wasn't in the previous patch in terms of like mods and stuff. So yeah, it's just, we're really tanky. There are very few things that can one-shot me. I can live through some of the palm slaps from Jet in the Breached here in the hardest difficulty. Sometimes it'll kill me, but sometimes it won't. I can live through like the Monkey Slam. There's like so many crazy attacks that I can live through. Not everything, but I am pretty damn tanky, especially for a Thorns build, which is important because you have to take damage to deal damage. But yeah, these stats are great. 41% block. If I could get the 50% block, that would help a lot. Mainly just because I'm using Chernobog. I'm trying to get percent damage from the Chernobog. If you're using a rare shield, I don't think you would need to go for max block cap, but Chernobog is really, really good. 142 spirit, because we do need a little bit of extra spirit for stacking, and 2,500 life. Yeah, I'm a beef boy, but I'm also a speed boy, which is really cool. So in Mace Strike, I have Barbs 3, Quill Burst, and Exploit Weakness. Exploit Weakness is to remove Armor Break on bosses for when you need to refresh scavenge plating stacks. Barbs 3, it just also lets you do a really big burst of damage, and it doesn't share stacks with Barbs 2, so you can have both up at the same time. You'll often see me alternating between like Boneshatter spam, and then if I don't have any stacks of Barbs 2, I'll hit May Strike just to use the extra Barbs 3 burst. And then on certain fights like King of the Mists, I will put Barbs 3 into Boneshatter. If there's a fight like King of the Mist where you have the Tornado, which is something that's always hitting you and always giving you permanent Barb stacks, you can just put Barbs 3 into Boneshatter and every attack will do the double hit, which is better than Barbs 2. But for the most part, you're going to keep these in there. In Scavenge Plating, we have Thorns Skin 2, Prolonged Duration, and Physical Mastery. This puts us level 22 Scavenge Plating, which is a lot more Thorns damage. And then, of course, Scavenge Plating is, again, the Thorns damage is really nice. It does help you with the damage, but the armor gain you get from it is just really nice. Do not sleep on how much armor you are gaining from Scavenge Plating. You want to be, like, if you're dying a lot, it's because you're not probably keeping up Scavenge Plating stacks. Like, it's almost doubling my armor. And it's not doubling my armor, other things as well. But it's in combat, when I have max Scavenge Plating stacks, I'm almost like double my in-combat armor. So it's just really important. Charge Regulation also gives me 18% more defenses when I consume an Endurance Charge. I have yet to try working in a way to generate Frenzy Charges yet. If I wanted to go a little bit, like, if we can get a way to get Frenzy Charges in, 14% more skill speed is a big boost in damage. I just haven't tried optimizing that in yet, because I've just been focusing really on trying to be as tanky as possible. My last Thorns character, the Trinity Thorns, he was kind of a glass cannon Thorns. I wanted this guy to just be tanky. This is the biggest change for Thorns in the patch for, like, in terms of, like, quality of life for non-Warbringers. You'll be using this on every character that's not a Warbringer. Voltaic Mark, it combined with Marked for Death is just really great for bossing. It gives you armor break on bossing, gives you shock. It's great. Inside of it right now, I have Marked for Death, Prolonged Duration, Shock, and Magnified Area. I don't think yeah, these probably going to change out. Leap Slam, right now I only have Holy Descent in it. I really only use the Holy Leap Slam if I'm like have to get around terrain that's like leaping down a ledge or something. I never use this in like bossing or for setup or anything. It's purely just to get around because it's slower than Boneshatter. Like, Boneshatter is just way faster. So I never use Leap Slam as a mobility option. So Sunder, I was messing around with it at one point with Bramble Slam. I was trying to use it as like a ranged clearing option. Bramble Slam, I get asked about it a lot. I don't think you can build it into a traditional Thorns build. Maybe the Trinity Thorns build can make it work because... Or not the Trinity, the Tactician Thorns build can make it work because you'll have way more Thorns skins, but in a traditional Thorns build, you can't get... Like, it doesn't scale off of Thorns damage. It scales off of Thorns damage modifier, so... You would have to do a hazard build for this to be, like, built correctly, and, yeah, like, even with my current setup, it doesn't feel great, but just wanted to show the interaction here. You can use Bramble Slam inside of Sunder. Depending on your setup, if you have more % increased Thorns damage, this might end up being a cool little thing you can do, but it's currently not worth it on this character. And then Resonating Shield, I have Quill Burst, Armor Demolisher, Magnified Area, Armor Break 3, and Crackling Barrier. I almost never use this. I will sometimes use it in Delirium 3 just to get initial armor break while I'm being, like, defensive. But at this point, I'm so tanky that, like, I'm really just holding Boneshatter down permanently. Let me get at my notes real quick just to make sure I'm not missing anything I wanted to talk about. So yeah, like for Sekimus, like I am so tanky with my honor resistance relics and stuff that in my high armor that Sekimus has never been easier for me. Like Thorns has always been pretty easy, especially in late game with a high block, but I am like full clearing Sekimus with almost no honor loss while taking damage constantly. And the move speed helps a lot for Sekimus. So this is the first character that I actually like kind of enjoyed farming Sekimus on. Like I can just go through all of the traps. I just fully just hold left click through it and just zoom to the end. It's not the fastest Sekimus clear build. Like Sekimus builds that are like designed for clearing Sekimus, like with high move speed and like bow builds that just one shot everything. They're better for sure, but this is actually a good Sekimus farm. And it's a really good Trial of Chaos farm. Ultimatum is really easy on this build. Like AFK builds have always been, Thorns have always been good at Ultimatum, but this one is just like, you can zoom through Ultimatum so much faster than you could before with Thorns. It is really nice. And then, yeah, I want to talk about before I forget, because I wanted to make sure I go into a lot of the details in this one. Getting shrine stuff is nice. I would recommend getting this setup here. It's not required, but getting acceleration shrines is just way more fun. It's just way more fun. Don't take my advice in general for Atlas tree pathing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a currency farmer. I'm not in general for this, but I like having the shrines on maps. It's not for the damage. You don't need it, but getting acceleration shrines with this build is just so much more fun when mapping, and that's also why I have the areas with map bosses gain an additional shrine. Just getting more shrines is just, like, obviously it makes the map process easier because you're getting more, you know, the damage shrines and whatnot, but, like, just the acceleration shrines are just so much fun. So I would recommend, like, poking down here and just getting these points here. The 100% increased chance of contained shrines, and then the increased duration. This will get you the acceleration shrine for the whole map. It's really fun. So you don't have to do that for money making or currency. Again, you're like, there's probably better things for currency farm, but if you want to have fun, just get the acceleration shrine buffs. So I'm just making sure I'm going over everything on my... So yeah, this is an expensive build before we dive into the breakdown, especially for leveling. Teethings are going up in price right now. Tithings or teethings. I always forget how to say it. Teethings are currently 21 exalts each. And, like, when you want to level, you're going to want to have 3 in your gloves, you're going to want to have 3 in your, or 4 in your armor, you're going to want to have 3 in your boots, you're probably going to have, like, yeah, it's actually just going to be those ones. So you're already looking at, you know, a little over half a divine just on tithings for leveling, and then as you're upgrading your gear constantly and you're replacing it in the campaign, or in the end game and stuff, you're going to be putting more tithings into them. Because tithings are such a huge part of this, it becomes expensive over time, so just, like, you're not going into this build with only a few divines. Like, you can get it started with a few divines, like maybe 1 divine, but once you hit end game, like, the upgrading of the gear, like, because of the cost of tithings, and I imagine tithings are just going to keep going up in price as the league goes on. That's what happened in 0.2 and 0.3, like, as the league went on. More people would, like, play Thorns later into the league because they're like, you don't want to play Thorns most of the time on your first character, but, like, your third or fourth character, sure. And by then, not as many people are playing, so not as many people are farming them, so they're, like, it's just scarcity, right? So at that point, and then you have more people in demand of it at the same time, so it's scarcer and more people want to play the style, so it just ends up, like, I imagine by the end of the league, they're going to be stupid expensive. I think last league, they ended at something like 24 chaos each. They were you were not able to purchase them anymore. Like, it was unreasonable to buy them. So yeah, I imagine tithings are going in that direction again. Teethings or tithings, I think it's tithings. They're going in that direction again. So yes, it's just going to get more and more expensive as we go on. I don't think I talk about Simulacrum. This is a great Simulacrum build as well. Once I hit this level of tankiness and this level of elemental damage conversion with my armor, I can AFK all of the early rounds. In the late rounds, like 10 plus, I can't AFK. I take a little bit too much damage. You do depend on a lot of your healing from Barb's Leech. So at some point, you can't just full AFK. I don't have the damage for that yet. Maybe if I had Palm of the Dreamer, I would have the damage to full AFK as Thorns, but the early phases of it are very easy. And then, yeah, you just have to make sure you're just attacking, and I haven't died in Simulacrum in forever. Yeah, so all of the Pinnacle content has been cleared with this build and my Warbringer's build. It's just really good. Oh, hey, Raptor. I think he's buying something from me. All right, let's talk about gear. So, Mace. There are a lot of options here. Like I said, I used Timbre when I was leveling. Orovasa, it is a high attack speed mace. It is okay, but because of the crafting changes, rare maces and rare spears are actually really good. The things you want on them is a high attack speed. As you can see, this one is like 1.94. Get as high as possible. You're going to want 2 to 3 sockets, because you can put some of the gain damage runes. Right now, I'm messing around with gain % of damage as extra chaos damage runes. You can also do the % of damage as extra elemental damage runes, the sequels for increased damage. 2 to 3 sockets in this is ideal. And then now, because of crafting, you can get on maces, gain % of damage as extra damage. Right now on this mace, I have gain % of damage as extra cold damage. I would prefer gain % of damage as extra physical damage. But yeah, there's a lot of good stats we can get on maces now. So you really want to get a high attack speed mace, or Spear if you're playing the Spear setups, but Spear won't be as fast as this. But yeah, just get 3 sockets, get the runes into it, and then, yeah, get strength on it. And yeah, the mace actually matters now. Let's talk about these gloves. These gloves are the best piece I have, I think, right now. They're not even a perfect roll, honestly. I would rather not have the mana. I'd rather have maximum life or maybe crit damage bonus on this. This could be crafted way better, but the amount of stats I'm getting from this is insane. Double res, 647 armor with no sockets in it, and then the 100% increased effects of socketed items is crazy for Thorns because we have the Runes of Tithing. You can also get this effect, I believe, on boots, but we're stuck with Briar Patch. There's no replacing Briar Patch. When I take off these gloves, look how much armor I'm losing. 6,000. And that is because, A, I have a bunch of percent increased armor gain on the tree, but because we're doing the polished iron, or the iron reflexes, and leather-bound gauntlets cheese. 1 evasion rating per 1 armor on your equipped gloves, and then converts all evasion rating to armor. So this is how I'm getting so much armor from my gloves. So gloves are now probably the most important crafting slot for Thorns. Getting a 2 to 3 socket gloves with this 100% increased socketed effect on items is with a high armor base is just going to be good. Like, even if you had no resistances, no maximum mana, let's just say everything else was bad, it was just high armor and multiple sockets with these socket effects. That's so much Thorns damage. We need a lot of flat Thorns damage, especially in a unique heavy build like this, and then it's just so much armor. These gloves are awesome. The fact that I have double res on them is great. I would have probably preferred maybe like strength. Like I said, crit damage bonus is huge for Thorns, so you can get crit damage bonus on gloves. You can also get attack speed on gloves if you want to go faster. This could be optimized very many ways, and I imagine over this league and going into 0.4, we're going to have like a lot more Thorns crafting videos, probably coming out from Silly Lily. I'm not very experienced in crafting. I'm a noob with that kind of shit. I obviously want to learn it more, yeah, we'll hopefully get more of this. One thing to keep in mind, though, is this is all, like, a lot of this is coming from Abyss crafting, and Abyss crafting is super powerful right now, but it's also going to be, like, not worse in the next patch, but it won't be in every single map next patch. Next patch, we're going to have a new league mechanic, and Abyss is going to be, like, way more infrequent, and way more hard to farm. So, like, it might be, like, way harder to get some of these crafting things. Now, every league hopefully adds more crafting tools and things that buff Thorns in other ways, but just to keep in mind that, yeah, things might change over time, but crafting has leveled up Thorns a lot. Just from, like, before weapons were dead stats, we used to use, like, blank uniques just for whatever effects, because why not? And now we can get a lot of damage from weapons. Having a 3-socket weapon is huge, and then we can craft things like gloves. If Briar Patch, like, Briar Patch is OP in the worst way, or I guess it's, like, the best worst way. It's, like, it's overpowered, like, and it's broken, like, really strong overpowered. We're never replacing these because crit Thorns is always going to be the playstyle. 25% flat crit is insane. And then we have Briar Patch, or we have Crown of the Pale King, which is OP in the worst way, where it's like we're required to use it because of its effect, but all the other stats on it suck, so it doesn't really, boost our damage. So we have these 2 required uniques that you're always having to play around, and makes it hard to get rares into, but the fact that we can craft rare gloves and rare weapons now is just massive for the build. But yeah, Crown of the Pale King and Briar Patch. This is why I have a 100% crit chance, getting a 3-socket exceptional base, or exceptional base with 2 sockets, and then crafting it to 3 sockets. It just allowed me to get 100% crit chance pretty easily. As you can see here, my only crit damage bonus is from these points here, crit damage chance, excuse me, and then the helmet. So, and then of course on the boots. I am not using a Heart of the Well Diamond that gives percent to Thorns critical hit chance flat. I am using the body armor one, so. Let's talk Brass Dome. So there's a possibility of rare chests being better than the Brass Dome. I really like the Brass Dome. First of all, it's 2,400 armor flat on a body armor. There are lots of ways you could scale the armor of your body armor for way more armor. Revenge gives us a percent of Thorns damage base of our equipped body armor. And then the new Heart of the Well, I have percent increased armor on equipped body armor, and then gain physical Thorns damage equal to 4% of item unequipped body armor. Now, just to make sure everyone is clear on this, the percent Thorns damage equal to percent of item on equipped body armor, that does not scale off of modifiers that increase the armor of the base armor. It is only scaling off of this flat 2484, but we're still getting a lot of flat physical Thorns from the armor piece. It is a lot. But we're getting a lot of armor from the armor. If we take this off, we go down to 13,000 armor. We are getting so much armor from this piece. One of the reasons is because we have Ancient Aegis anointed. This is 60% increased armor from equipped body armor. And then we have Sturdy Metal, 80% increased armor from equipped body armor. Now, obviously, 2,400 armor is a lot, but there are rare armor pieces that are comparable, that can potentially get more armor, I believe. And this comes with the downside of -1 all elemental res, and this is with a pretty perfect roll. Like, now, I think a 4-socket in some situations, if you can get a good 4-socket, might be better, because you could put 3 teethings in it into an armor rune, and you might be able to get more armor on it. I am not sure. But I am really enjoying the take no extra damage from critical hits. It is really powerful. There are a lot of map mods out there that have a lot of like percent increased critical hit chance, percent increased monster critical damage bonus. There are ultimatum modifiers that do that, and these make those not matter. And then when you combine it with something like Blade Catcher with defend with 200% armor against critical hits, this doesn't make you not take critical hits. This makes you take no extra damage from critical hits. So you still take the crit, but it takes normal damage, and then Blade Catcher defends it with 200% increased armor. So I think it actually makes most crits do less damage than normal hits. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I believe it's probably not going to be saving your life one way or the other. I am not sure. Not a math guy. Some of the math people have to tell me there. I assume with big hits, this won't be what saves your life. But at worst, it is 15% plus 15 to strength. So I'm not sure if Blade Catcher is worth it, but I do honestly believe that take no extra damage from critical hits is worth it. It is just a comfort play. Like it just makes the game so chill and brain off. Yeah, I love it. Now, if you have a really good rare chest piece with, like, you can get a rare chest piece with, like, a Thorns damage enchant, 4 sockets, high chaos res, percent of damage converted to elemental damage. Like, there's a lot of really good rare chests out there that could be better than this, but for what I spent to craft this, this was insanely cheap, and it has carried most of my Thorns characters this league. So if you have a really expensive rare chest piece, which I will be eventually playing around with, you know, maybe it's better than this, but I'm telling you, I am really enjoying the no extra damage from critical hits. Like, all of those map mods that have the 300%, 400% bonus damage to crit damage bonus or whatever, like, they don't matter to you on these maps with this chest. So yeah, I really like this chest piece. Again, I have Ancient Aegis anointed. And you want Spirit on your amulet. You want to get, I believe it's at least plus 40 Spirit, so you can run Charge Regulation, Scavenge Plating, both with Thorn Skin 2. You just need 40 Spirit on your amulet. On it, I got percent increased maximum life because I'm a Titan, percent increased armor because I'm armor stacking. Happened to have Dex on it. It made it me getting Dex on the tree a little bit lighter. And then I've got some res on it. You could get more max life here. There's a lot of ways that this, like, the amulets can be min-maxed a lot of ways. There's probably going to be, like, maybe a crafting guide for amulets, like, because I believe you can get percent increased quality on amulets too, and quality to all skills is move speed for Boneshatter. So I'm not sure what's best here. You obviously, and again, I don't even know if you need to be res cap. I haven't actually tried being, like, not res cap with this much armor. Maybe you don't have to have res on, like, some of these pieces, and you can be really greedy with, like, extra armor and, like, other stats and stuff. I haven't played with that yet. And then on my rings, evasion rating is one of the few ways on rings we can get armor, especially since we're playing Iron Reflexes. So if you can get evasion rating on armor, that's just extra armor. It is not required, though. Mainly, you're going to be looking for maximum life and then capping out your resistances. These are rings I've been using on my characters for a long time now. That I've just been passing them around because they just help me round out my reses. You might see me optimize this character further over the next week or so once I have more currency. because there are these Grip of Kalltorak rings, and they have a lot of crazy modifiers. One of them is % increased Thorns damage if you've consumed an endurance charge recently, which we are constantly doing. You can also get gain % of damage as extra fire and cold and lightning damage, and that's more Thorns damage. You can also get % increased armor on these rings, which is, again, I just talked about how you can't really get armor on rings. With Grips of Kalltorak, you can get % increased armor on rings. So there's a lot of ways that this build can be optimized more. Clearly, I have way too much lightning and fire res, so it's possible that like I can get a one really good ring that helps me round out my res, and then I replace the other ring with a Grip of Kalltorak that's just either boosting my damage or boosting my defenses further. And then I am using Chernobog, so this is where I am not sure if you need to use Chernobog or not. I am playing Chernobog, and I am trying to lean a little bit more into block. I'm only at 41% block right now. I did end up taking Lay Siege. I am getting my next passive points into block. I mean, Chernobog is nice. I just happen to have one that has one with 49% increased Thorns damage. You gaining 1% of fire damage at 1% block chance. This is a Thorns damage increase, especially with Scavenge Plating. It ends up adding up to a lot of damage. Like even baseline, I have 4206 top end fire Thorns damage. I mean, that's all coming from Chernobog, and it's not coming from much else. It's just it's a really good damage increase. Now, rare shields might be a way where you can get a lot more armor. I'm talking you could be pushing, like if you had a good rare shield with like a proper setup, you could probably push yourself over 100,000 armor in combat. And then shields have the modifier % of armor converted to chaos damage. So one of the most dangerous aspects of this build is the chaos damage. And that's why I have so much invested into chaos res. If I were to place Chernobog with a rare shield, that would be huge. And then of course, yeah, just a lot more armor. The cool thing again with this build is the shield and the body armor doesn't slow you down because we're moving with Boneshatter. So if you wanted to drop the shield, you could try. In terms of defenses, let's see how much armor I go down right now. I don't think it's much, not 39. So yeah, I'm barely losing any armor, right? I'm obviously losing the block chance, but the block's like, yeah, it's not doing much, I promise you. So the shield isn't needed. If you wanted to run Resolute Technique, or excuse me, Dance with Death again, and be super zoom mode with no shield equipped, you definitely can do that. The shield is not required in terms of defensiveness, as you can see here. I'm just using it for damage. The block chance is not really helping me survive a lot at all. I'm not really taking damage ever. The block is really just a way I'm scaling my damage up right now. But if you wanted to be even tankier, there's rare shields out there that will make you just so much more tanky. Let me look at my notes just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, let's dive into the passive tree. So yeah, we are playing Titan, so the first points you want to go for, well, you can actually just start with, in the campaign, either Stone Skin, if you wanted to get, if you're leveling with the armor, I talk about in the Mobalytics, I forget the name of it. You can start with Stone Skin just to be extra armor tanky throughout the campaign, and then whenever you have your 3rd and 4th points, you can respec the Hulking Form, but more than likely you're just going to go straight for Colossal Capacity, and then Hulking Form. Hulking Form is... I've been saying since 0.1 Titan's my favorite ascendancy, and it's always because Hulking Form. Hulking Form, when you're doing off-meta weird builds, like, it's just a problem-solving tool. Like, it just, like, anything you need, you could get more of via Hulking Form. I love Hulking Form. I think Titan's the best ascendancy in the game. I've always said that. And it's because of this passive, too. But now, because of armor stacking being good, and just the lack of life stacking on the tree, Titan's just really good. It's just really good. Armor stacking is cracked. Okay, so we get Sturdy Metal. This isn't actually the path you take when you're leveling. I have in the Mobalytics, it'll have a leveling breakdown for you guys. But yeah, I'm just going to talk about the passives here. So Relentless is just more armor, but we're really going for Sturdy Metal. Again, we're getting so much armor from our body armor. And it's all because of how much we're investing into it in the passive tree. Defender's Resolve is just for extra block chance. Voracious is for the instant leech. It's just a little bit extra healing. I'm curious if I still even need these anymore at this point. How tanky I am. Probably. It's been a while since I've played without fast metabolism and Voracious. This might be like a way to save 6 points depending on how tanky I am. And if my Thorns damage is hitting hard enough and I'm tanky enough, the amount of leech that Thorns is doing baseline might be enough to where you don't need Voracious and fast metabolism anymore. It's also possible you could go into Vow Pact and then save yourself 2 points that way. I'm not sure, but Voracious and Fast Metabolism always was kind of baseline for Thorns in terms of like defensive with the Leech and stuff. Vengeance still needed. You have to have Thorns Leech. Unyielding, it's 15% increased attack speed if you've been hit recently. We're constantly being hit because of Thorns, and then because of the small passives, we're getting a percent increase of attack speed. Temper defenses for the increased armor and percent of armor as elemental damage. And then, of course, I talked about earlier, iron reflexes combined with leather-bound gauntlets gives us a good chunk of armor from our gloves. Lay Siege, because we're leaning into block, just to get a little bit extra damage, we're taking this stuff right here. Again, if I might play with a rare shield later and test some other stuff. And if I were to do that, I wouldn't really care about my block chance, so I'd take all of the passives out of block chance, and I would take all the points out of this if I swap to a rare shield. And I would just be using the rare shield for like an extra defensive layer, and I would invest this into other damage options probably. But because we're playing Chernobog, I'm playing Lay Siege. Oh yeah, let's talk over here. So I have a From Nothing Diamond for Dance with Death. This lets me allocate these 3 points here, 4%, 4%, and 10% skill speed. So 18% skill speed is a lot. It's really nice for 3 points and a jewel node. It might not be the best. There might be better ways to do this, but skill speed's really nice. So, and this is a really cheap From Nothing. This is a very cheap From Nothing. It's not one of like the multi-divine ones. I think I spent like 10 exalts for it. It was really cheap. Okay, pathing over here. So polished iron is like, this is required in any armor stacking build and like any Thorns build, period. The amount of stun threshold you get from this makes you pretty much never light stunned ever. It's awesome. And then when you actually are holding Resonating Shield, you can hold it for a long time, but this is mainly for the stun threshold when you're like, I literally never get light stunned out of spamming like Tempest Flurry or any of my like Thorn skills like Boneshatter and stuff. Again, I talked about Blade Catcher earlier. I'm not sure if this is needed. You can path over here to get Blood Rush. This is percent increased skill speed. The mana cost converted to life cost, that doesn't really matter. We're just doing it for the skill speed. And then coming over here for Thornhide and the crit damage and crit chances. At one point, I was doing a different setup, and I didn't have 3 points into here because I was at 100% crit chance without this, but now I need those 3 points into that to hit 100%. Path through here, get these Thorns percent damage increases because we have Hulking Form. These give a lot more than they do on the Warbringer, so they're really nice to scoop. Path through here for the percent increase of armor to applies to elemental damage, and then the little bit extra lightning and fire. Lightning and fire right now in this game are the deadly elemental damages in my opinion. It is very few attacks in this game, unless you're farming like, well even the Kolagarn guy, whatever it is, the expedition boss. Even his cold damage doesn't ever one-shot me, so it's like, cold damage is, like, in my mind, one of the least deadly ailments right now. I just never feel threatened by cold ever. So, like, even without these 2 points, I never feel like I'm at danger to cold. Maybe there's a type of content that I'm not farming that's a little bit more deadly for cold, but I haven't felt the, like, yeah, not having these 2 points here didn't really matter to me. And I just path through here to get over to this stuff. Got the extra block chance because right now I'm just putting any of my extra points as I'm leveling up. Right now, this character's 93. This is not my Warbringer, by the way. I leveled a new Titan. I still have my Warbringer. He's level 94. This is a brand new character. So, yeah, like, I don't have... That's why he's one level lower. But yeah, all my new points I'm putting in the block chance, just trying to get up to 50% block chance for the extra damage. We talked about Tribal Fury in the previous videos, but it gives you Thorns Cleave. This is required for Boneshatter. If your AoE looks way worse than mine, you're probably not using Tribal Fury. You need to use Tribal Fury. Retaliation, percent increased Thorns damage if you blocked recently. We got decent chance of block, so we're being hit constantly. So that's pretty much always up. And then, of course, Revenge is a lot of Thorns damage. Let me actually show you how much Thorns damage. So let's look at the physical Thorns damage. It's at 3168, so we're losing like almost 2,000 physical Thorns damage by taking off of this body armor. That's all coming from Revenge plus... Heart of the Well Diamond, scaling off of like all of my other Thorns percent damage increases. And then Projectile Bulwark, 30% increased armor, defend with 100%, 20% armor against projectiles with some more armor increase stuff here. And that is the tree. Yeah, my jewels. So this jewel's probably getting replaced soon. I was using this through the campaign and early mapping. Recover 2% of maximum mana on kill with the crit damage bonus. The recover maximum mana on kill... early on in the campaign, I was having mana problems with Boneshatter. At one point, I was even running, I forget what inspiration was rewarded to. Efficiency, I think. I don't remember. But yeah, at one point during the campaign and early on, I was going every once in a while. I was running out of mana, and this solved that. This is not needed anymore. I imagine I'm going to replace this with one of the jewels that give passives. Like Ancient Aegis is a super expensive one of those. What are they called? From Nothing diamonds? No, these are From Nothings. I forget what they're called. Megalomaniacs, I believe. Yeah, Megalomaniacs. So like, I would probably be replacing this with a Megalomaniac. Like getting Ancient Aegis would be really nice. Honestly, Molten Being is a okay damage increase, but it also is like physical damage is fire damage, so it's like another way to survive big physical hits. So yeah, like there's a lot of good Megalomaniacs. You could get some, like you could try and get Cooked. Like if I got a Megalomaniac with like Ancient Aegis, maybe I anoint Cooked. 60% increased crit damage bonus is nice. Or if you don't want to take off the defensive losses, you can go with Heartbreaking instead. There's a lot of good change-ups here, so you have to keep an eye on the Mobilytics and the PoE Ninja to see what I add to replace this. But yeah, it's been a lot of expensive, wasting currency, tinkering with stuff, but the character is beast, man. He is so tanky. Armor stacking is just so damn good. Next up, I'm probably going to do the Tactician again. The Trinity Thorns Tactician was fun, but he was too glass canning-y. I'm going to go back to him, and I'm going to get rid of Trinity and the Elemental Thorns, and I'm going to do armor stacking Thorns on him and see what I can do with him armor stacking. And then after that, I don't know what's next. I kind of want to do Arctic Armor Blood Mage, like some form of cast on crits, like auto bomber thing. But I don't know if that's going to be after I revisit the Tactician shortly, or if it's going to be next, or later down the road or something. But yeah, the character's really fun. Yeah, enjoy, guys. Well, that's the build. It's a lot of fun. I imagine this interaction is going to get nerfed with Boneshatter. I believe Whirling Attack or Whirling Assault, one of those from 0.3. This got changed, and I imagine it'll get changed with this too. We'll have to see, though. If it stays, this might be one of the go-to Thorns leveling styles I play going forward. I mean, it is so nice finally having move speed with Thorns. If you've been enjoying the content, please like and subscribe, and come hang out in our Thorns Discord. Apologies to Darth microtransaction. We once again ran out of time. Take care, boys. See you in the next one.